Pay attention to the security camera at MacArthur BART station in Oakland, California. A man steps off the train. He's wearing a white and gray hoodie. The platform is busy. Commuters rush past. Transit workers move through the crowd. Police officers stand nearby. The man pulls down his hood. He removes his sunglasses. He glances around. Then he does something strange. He reaches down into his pant leg. His hand comes back up holding something metallic, something that catches the light for just a second. He quickly conceals it beneath his sweatshirt. Nobody notices, not the commuters rushing to catch their trains, not the transit workers checking tickets, not even the police officers stationed just feet away. But the cameras see everything. Rewind 20 minutes earlier. The same security cameras capture this man at Concord Station. He's standing on the platform. 3 young women walk past him. They're laughing, talking, just 3 sisters heading home after a family gathering. The man watches them. He pulls on his hoodie, grabs his backpack, and follows them onto the train. He finds a seat nearby, close enough to watch, far enough not to draw attention. He's wearing dark sunglasses even though it's nighttime. And for stop after stop, he just sits there, watching them through those dark lenses. He never moves, never speaks, never looks away. The sisters have no idea they're being hunted. 9:35 p.m. The train pulls into MacArthur Station. The 3 women gather their belongings. They stand up. They're transferring to another line to continue their journey home. The doors open. One sister exits first. She heads toward the connecting train. The other 2 wait on the platform. A woman with a baby stroller is backing out through the train doors. The sisters make room for her. The baby looks up at one of them and giggles. The young woman smiles. "Hi, baby," she says. Those would be among her last words. Then chaos. The cameras capture what happens next. The man moves fast, silent, sudden, brutal. He strikes without warning. Then he just stands there, watching, as if time has stopped. People scream, people run. The man turns and flees through the emergency door into the parking lot. The next camera angle shows him in the parking structure. He's pulling off his sweatshirt, changing into different clothes. He ditches his backpack behind a concrete pillar. Then he walks calmly toward a bus stop, his hands in his pockets, his face blank. He entered the station as one person. He left as another. So who was the young woman who smiled at that baby? The one whose life was about to be stolen in the most senseless way.
It's the hardest thing I ever experienced in my life. Seeing my baby dead.
Oakland, California continues to mourn the killing of Nia Wilson. Nia was an 18-year-old African-American woman who was stabbed at a BART station along with her sister Latifah by a white man named John Lee Cowell.
Before we continue, don't forget to like this video. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss any coverage in this channel. Her name was Nia Wilson. She was 18 years old. She lived in Oakland with her family. She was the youngest of 6 sisters and 2 brothers. A big family, a close family. Nia was a cheerleader, a rapper, a makeup artist. Her friends called her PG. It stood for Pretty Girl, and according to everyone who knew her, the nickname fit perfectly. She performed with her cousins in a music group called Girls and the Hood. They made music together. They had dreams of making it big one day. But Nia had other dreams too. She wanted to open her own dance studio. She wanted to become an EMT. She wanted to help people. That's who she was, someone who cared about others. She was set to graduate with honors from Dewey Academy. Her father had talked with her about that graduation many times. It was something they both looked forward to. When her mother talks about Nia, she says one word: sunshine. "When I think of Nia, I think of sunshine," she said. Big, bright, beautiful smile. That was my baby. Her family describes her as always positive, always selfless, always putting others first. And Nia had already proven that about herself. 2 years earlier, in 2016, something terrible happened. Nia's boyfriend and his best friend drowned in a reservoir. At the vigil, 3,000 people gathered to remember them. Nia was there, standing in the crowd. Then a shot rang out. A 16-year-old girl standing right next to Nia was hit in the neck. People scattered, people ran, but Nia didn't run. She stayed with that girl. She stayed until medical help arrived. That's the kind of person she was. Her cousin remembered something else Nia once said. She told him that if anyone ever hurt her, he shouldn't let them get away with it. She wanted justice. She believed in fighting for what was right. On July 22, 2018, Nia and 2 of her sisters, Latifah and Tashia, went to a family gathering in Concord. They were there to celebrate their Aunt Teresa. She was battling a terminal illness. The family wanted to spend time with her, to share stories, to laugh together, to show her love while they still could. It was emotional, but it was beautiful. Around 9 p.m., the three sisters left to head home to Oakland. They walked to the Concord BART station. They bought their tickets. They boarded the train, just another train ride. They'd made this trip countless times before. There was no reason to think this night would be any different. But from the moment they stepped onto that platform, they were being hunted. A man in a white and gray hoodie had already spotted them. He pulled his hood up, he grabbed his backpack, and he followed them onto that train. For the next 20 minutes, he watched them. He studied them. He planned. And Nia Wilson had no idea that her life was about to end. The man in the white and gray hoodie was later identified as John Lee Cowell. He was 27 years old. Surveillance footage shows exactly what he did that night. He spotted the three sisters the moment they arrived at Concord Station. He pulled on his hoodie, he grabbed his backpack, and he followed them onto the platform. He boarded the train right behind them. He found a seat nearby, close enough to watch, close enough to plan, and for stop after stop, he just sat there, watching them through his dark sunglasses. The sisters talked. They laughed. They had no idea someone was studying their every move. Around 9:35 p.m., the train pulled into MacArthur Station. The sisters needed to transfer to another line to get home. They stood up. They gathered their things. Tashia exited the train first. She moved toward the connecting line on the other side of the platform. Then a woman with a baby stroller started backing out through the train doors. Latifa and Nia waited. They made room for the mother and child. It was a small act of kindness, the kind of thing good people do without thinking. The baby looked up at Nia and giggled. Nia smiled back. "Hi, baby," she said. Those were among her last words. Then John Lee Cowell struck, without warning, without a sound. He slashed Nia's throat. Her carotid artery was severed. Her jugular vein was cut. Blood poured from the wound. Before Latifa could even process what was happening, she felt a sudden impact. Pain shot through her body. He had stabbed her too. In the neck, in the arm, in the shoulder. Tashia was already on the connecting train. She looked back and saw her sister stumble. At first, she thought Nia had tripped. Then she saw the blood. She saw Latifa clutching her own wounds. And she realized something terrible had just happened. John Lee Cowell disappeared into the crowd. People were screaming. People were running. Chaos erupted across the platform. The train doors closed. Then they reopened. It was an automated safety feature. The system sensed something was wrong. The woman with the baby stroller realized what had happened. She grabbed her baby's blanket and threw it to Latifa. Latifa caught it. She pressed the fabric against Nia's throat. She was bleeding too. Her own injuries were serious, but all she could think about was saving her baby sister. "All I could think of is apply pressure," Latifa later said, according to court testimony. "I'm not knowing if I'm hurting her. I'm not knowing if I'm making it worse." A security guard ran over. He tried to pull Latifa away. "You've been injured too," he told her. But Latifa didn't care about her own condition. She didn't care about the blood pouring from her own wounds. All she cared about was Nia. Nia was calling her name. "Tifa, Tifa, Tifa." Latifa held her sister's hand. She looked into her eyes. "I love you," she told her. "We're going to get through this. I got you, baby. I got you. You're my baby sister." But they wouldn't get through this. The wound was too deep. The blood loss was too severe. From the first strike to Nia's final breath, less than 3 minutes passed. BART police officers were already patrolling the station when the attack happened. They rushed to the scene. They called for paramedics. They tried to help. But by the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. 18-year-old Nia Wilson was gone. Latifa was rushed to the hospital. Her injuries were serious, but doctors were able to save her life. Tashia was physically unharmed, but emotionally, both sisters would carry scars that would never fully heal. And John Lee Cowell? He walked calmly through the emergency exit. He disappeared into the parking structure. He changed his clothes. He ditched his backpack. And he walked away like nothing had happened. What happened next would expose serious failures in the justice system. Failures that allowed a dangerous man to walk free. Failures that cost Nia Wilson her life. But first, let's talk about who this attacker really was. Because his history will make you angry, Hit that like button if you're still with me. John Lee Cowell, 27 years old, white male, 5 feet 8 inches tall. He was raised in Concord, California, the same city where Nia and her sisters boarded the train that night. He had lived there on and off for years. At the time of the attack, he was homeless. But homelessness wasn't his only problem. John Lee Cowell had a violent criminal history that stretched back nearly a decade. In 2009, when he was just 18 years old, he was arrested for felony assault. He beat a 51-year-old man. Then he punched the man's daughter. He was angry they had confronted him about a burglary. In 2013, he was convicted of battery in Walnut Creek. In 2015, his own family filed a restraining order against him. He had tried to enter their home while he was high on drugs. They were scared of him. They needed protection from their own son. That same year, he was arrested for meth possession. He was sentenced to 90 days in jail. But 2016 was the worst year. He walked into a Lucky store at El Torito Plaza. A security guard confronted him for stealing. Cowell pulled out a knife. Then he pulled out what looked like a gun. It turned out to be fake, but the threat was real. He was arrested at El Torito BART station. He was convicted of second-degree robbery. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. Also in 2016, Kaiser Medical Center filed a restraining order against him. He had threatened to kill one of their employees. This wasn't just a troubled man. This was a dangerous man, a violent man, a man with a pattern of attacking innocent people. And yet, in May of 2018, just 2 months before he killed Nia Wilson, John Lee Cowell was released on parole. He was back on the streets, back on BART trains, back around innocent people. 4 days before the attack, on July 18, 2018, BART officers confronted him for not paying his fare. They let him go. 2 weeks before the attack, according to a civil suit filed by Nia's family, Cowell threatened 2 other BART passengers, but BART employees were unavailable to take a report, so nothing was done. Nobody stopped him, nobody flagged him, nobody kept him away from the public transit system where he had already been arrested before. After his arrest, Cowell's family released a public statement. They said he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. They said he had been in and out of jail and had not received proper treatment. This is in no way an excuse for this senseless and vicious attack, the statement read. They were right. It's not an excuse. But here's the question that haunts this case. How does a violent felon with this history end up free to stalk an innocent teenager on public transit? How does someone with multiple assault convictions, restraining orders, and a history of threatening people with weapons get released after just 2 years? How does the system fail this badly? John Lee Cowell should never have been on that train. He should never have been near those sisters. And Nia Wilson should still be alive. 9:45 p.m., 15 minutes after the attack. Nia's father, Ansar El-Muhammad, received a frantic phone call from Tashia. Her words came out jumbled, panicked. He could barely understand what she was saying. All he could make out was one word, BART. He thought maybe the girls had gotten into an argument with someone on the train. Nothing serious. Just teenagers being teenagers. He had no idea his world was about to shatter. He rushed to MacArthur station. When he arrived, the scene made no sense. Ambulances everywhere. Police cars. Flashing lights painting the night in red and blue. Then he saw Latifah being loaded into an ambulance. She had injuries on her neck, on her arm, blood on her clothes. What happened? He asked. Latifah looked at him. Her voice was hollow. Go check on Nia, she said. He turned and ran up the stairs to the platform. And then he saw her, his daughter, his baby girl, lying motionless on the concrete. I see my daughter's body, he later said. It's the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Police were already reviewing security footage. They identified the suspect immediately. The cameras had captured everything, his face, his movements. His escape. John Lee Cowell had made one crucial mistake. During his escape, he ditched his backpack in the parking structure. Inside were personal items, his identification, things with his name on them. Police knew exactly who they were looking for. But it took nearly 12 hours for police to release Cowell's photo and information to the public. 12 hours. The delay infuriated Nia's family. It infuriated the community. What if he attacked someone else during those 12 hours? What if he escaped? When I tell you all my brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody was looking for him, Latifah said, according to news reports. News of Nia's murder spread like wildfire on social media. The hashtag #SayHerName began trending. It was originally created to bring awareness to Black women and girls who were victims of violence. Now it was being used for Nia. Around 1,000 people gathered at MacArthur Station for a vigil. They demanded justice. They honored Nia's memory. They refused to let her story be forgotten. And then, during that very vigil, police got a break. An anonymous caller reported seeing a man matching Cowell's description. He was on a BART train, and that train was headed directly toward MacArthur Station, toward the vigil, toward the scene of his crime. Officers stationed themselves at MacArthur. They waited for the train to arrive. They searched every car. But he wasn't there. He had somehow slipped past them. At Pleasant Hill Station, about 20 minutes away, other officers boarded the train. And there, standing right in the doorway, was John Lee Cowell. Body camera footage captured the arrest. Cowell was calm. He didn't run. He didn't fight. He just stood there. "How you doing today?" an officer asked casually. "Good," Cowell replied. Just like that, less than 24 hours after he took Nia Wilson's life, the manhunt was over. In February of 2020, nearly 2 years after Nia's murder, John Lee Cowell finally went on trial. His defense was simple: not guilty by reason of insanity. Cowell took the stand. He testified that he believed the Wilson sisters were aliens who had kidnapped his grandmother, according to court records. He claimed he didn't know what he was doing. He claimed he couldn't tell right from wrong. Letifa sat in the courtroom and watched him perform. "He just made a mockery out of it," she said. District Attorney Butch Ford wasn't buying it either. When Ford attempted to play the surveillance video in court, Cowell suddenly erupted. He started screaming, yelling, cussing at the prosecutor. "He started screaming, yelling, cussing at me," Ford recalled, "telling me that I knew he was innocent. The judge warned him to stop." Cowell continued. The judge warned him again. Cowell kept going. Eventually, he was removed from the courtroom entirely. But prosecutors had uncovered something damning. While Cowell was in custody awaiting trial, he made phone calls. Those calls were recorded, and in those calls, he admitted something shocking. He said he had stopped taking his psychiatric medication on purpose. He wanted to appear more unstable when the trial started. He was trying to build his insanity defense. "I think it was an absolute show," Ford said, and the surveillance footage told the real story. The cameras showed that Cowell targeted the sisters specifically. He spotted them at Concord Station. He followed them onto the train. He watched them for more than 15 minutes. He planned his attack. He planned his escape. He had hidden a weapon in his pant leg before boarding the train. He brought a change of clothes. After the attack, he ditched his backpack. He changed his shirt. He walked calmly to a bus stop. These aren't the actions of someone who doesn't know right from wrong. These are the actions of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Prosecutors also considered hate crime charges. The security footage showed something disturbing. Cowell ignored numerous other passengers before fixating on the 3 African-American sisters. There were plenty of other people on that platform, other women, other targets. But he didn't focus on any of them. There were many women and people who entered the BART platform, Ford noted. He did not focus on any of them. As soon as he saw 3 young African-American women, he fixated on them. While in custody, Cowell harassed an African-American deputy with racial abuse. The pattern was clear. "There's no doubt in my mind that the assault was racially motivated," Ford stated publicly, but proving a hate crime in court is difficult. The legal standard is high. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that race was the primary motivating factor. Instead, Ford recommended charging Cowell with premeditated murder with the special circumstance of lying in wait. If convicted, this would ensure life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge reviewed all the evidence, the surveillance footage, on the phone calls, the testimony, and the judge ruled that John Lee Cowell was legally sane at the time of the attack. On March 10, 2020, the jury reached a verdict. They found him guilty of first-degree murder of Nia Wilson, guilty of attempted murder of Letifa Wilson, and guilty of the special circumstance of lying in wait. The jury deliberated for approximately 2 hours. On July 17, 2020, John Lee Cowell was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He would never walk free again. He would never hurt another innocent person. "He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison," Latifa said. "So I really think justice was served." But Cowell's legal team didn't give up. They filed an appeal. They argued the trial was unfair. They argued the evidence was insufficient. On January 5th, 2023, a 3-judge panel reviewed the appeal. They rejected it unanimously. Every single argument was denied. John Lee Cowell will die in prison. And that's exactly where he belongs. Justice doesn't undo damage. It doesn't bring Nia back. It doesn't erase the trauma Latifah carries every single day. I still feel that guilt of I couldn't save her, Latifah said years later. She was just yelling my name. Tifa, Tifa, Tifa. Survivor's guilt is real, and it's something Latifah will carry for the rest of her life. Nia's father, Ansar El Mohammed, suffered a stroke from the stress and grief. I don't speak too clear, he said. I have limited use of my right side. The man who took his daughter's life shattered the entire family's health, happiness, and sense of safety. But Nia's purpose continues. Her funeral drew hundreds of people. They dressed in gold and white. Nia was laid to rest in a white casket. A horse-drawn carriage carried her through the streets. 18 doves were released into the sky, one for each year of her life. Her high school held a special graduation ceremony. They posthumously awarded Nia her diploma, the diploma she had worked so hard to earn. NBA star Steph Curry dedicated a basketball showcase to Nia. He raised over $20,000 for her family. In 2019, the Wilson family created the Nia Wilson Foundation. It provides mental health counseling, homeless outreach, self-defense classes, and employment opportunities. Nia dreamed of helping people. Her foundation carries that dream forward. When I think of Nia, I think of sunshine, her mother said. Big, bright, beautiful smile. That was my baby. The family also sued BART for failing to protect Nia and Latifah. They claimed Cowell's violence was foreseeable and preventable. He had been caught fare-skipping just days before. He had prior BART arrests. The system knew he was dangerous, but they did nothing. The outcome of the civil suit has not been publicly confirmed. If this case showed you anything, it's that we need to demand better from the systems designed to protect us. Subscribe so you never miss when we cover cases like this. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. John Lee Cowell was a convicted violent felon. He had assaulted people with deadly weapons before. He had committed armed robbery. He had threatened to kill people. Yet he was released on parole, free to stalk an innocent teenager on public transit. Where was the oversight? Where were the check-ins, the monitoring, the intervention? Why did it take police 12 hours to release Cowell's information after they identified him? 12 hours during which he could have attacked someone else. 12 hours during which he was still out there. Why were BART employees unavailable to take a report when Cowell threatened 2 passengers just 2 weeks before the attack? Why was Cowell allowed back at BART stations after the fare-skipping incident just 4 days before he killed Nia? These aren't rhetorical questions. These are failures, real failures. And they cost Nia Wilson her life. After Nia's death, BART estimated they needed $28 million for full security upgrades, digital cameras, better monitoring systems, more officers. But how much is a life worth? Nia's family thinks of her every day. They work to honor her memory through the foundation. They find strength in small moments. Nia was passionate about fighting for equal rights. She constantly put others ahead of herself. And she even told her family something prophetic. If she were ever the victim of a racially motivated attack, she wanted them to keep fighting. She wanted them to hold the attacker accountable. In death, Nia got her wish. Her family fought. The community rallied. Justice was served. Me and my daughters and the rest of us will see this through. Nia's father vowed. We will make it. John Lee Cowell will spend the rest of his life behind bars. He will never hurt another innocent person. But Nia Wilson, just 18 years old, full of dreams and purpose and light, will never dance again. She'll never help patients as an EMT. She'll never open that studio she dreamed about. She'll never graduate. She'll never fall in love. She'll never have children. She'll never grow old. Her final moments, caught on camera, serve as a stark reminder. Evil exists. It can strike anywhere, anytime, without warning, and sometimes the systems designed to protect us fail in the most catastrophic ways possible. Remember Nia Wilson, say her name, and demand better, because the next time, it could be someone you love.